Hey everyone, it's Matt Warrior here, and I'm doing this video as a review for a project that is not metal. However, I think it closely relates to metal and its influences as far as the progressive metal medium. And that's why I decided to put it on Matt Warrior's Metal Madness instead of some of my other blogs. And the second reason why I'm putting it on this blog is because that it is actually of a higher quality enough to have basically the project publicized in such a way, because Mad Warriors Metal Madness is basically like how could I say it? It's actually the one that's kind of getting the most traction as far as all my blogs. So I've decided to put this on this main metal blog. So what is this band I'm reviewing? Well, it's actually a solo project, but I'm very familiar with that because I have several projects myself. So, of Herman Martinez. And obviously, as I said, Herman does not play metal in the traditional sense, but since his music shares a lot of influences that have influenced me even as a musician, and similarities with the metal idiom that I enjoy, I do make an exception for this review. And Herman Martinez is an upcoming musician to look out for. Plays kind of an ethereal form of rock that crosses into many styles and influences. And one of his admitted influences is Steven Wilson, who has been in Porcupine Tree and many other projects. And Steven Wilson kind of ventures into prog, alternative, metal, psychedelic, space rock. That's probably my favorite genre that he's done, because I was a big fan of Sky Moves Sideways when it came out back in the day. So I really do relate to that. I do like a lot of Steven Wilson's early work. So Herman Martinez just came out with a new album, and it is available in the links that I will provide, called Secret Doors, Hidden Stairs. And the surreal title and artwork is only a hint of what the music contains, because it definitely contains multitudes, to paraphrase Walt Whitman. I can hear Steven Wilson, and I also can hear maybe some Anathema, like more modern Anathema, who's actually another band I've liked for a long time. And maybe some of it kind of might be sort of psychedelic folk or shoegaze. It might have a little bit of that. So the album starts out with the song Season Premiere. So the album definitely has like a cinematic quality about it, as you'll get from many of the song titles and many of the songs. So the first few songs do have somewhat of a formula, like but I do like that formula, because it's like, so there'll be kind of a lilting guitar melody and acoustic guitars, sometimes a piano, and like a lot of kind of spacey kind of feel to it. And of course, I'm a big fan of atmosphere. I've always been a big fan of atmosphere in music ever since, I think, the first album I heard. Well, honestly, the first album I heard that was like really blew me away was either Piper to the Gates of Dawn. I think that was one of the first ones by Pink Floyd. It was the first Pink Floyd album I really got into. And then I got into like Dark Side of the Moon, and honestly, like, I was smoking Jamaican red weed when I was 16 when I first heard Dark Side of the Moon all the way through, and it was fucking mind-blowing. Anyways, I love atmosphere, so I was into this album because it does have a lot of atmosphere to it. A lot of some effects. It's very tastefully done, the effects on the guitars. It's not like Echoplex, mania or something like that. It's not like you can't hear what the guitar is playing or something like that. There's a lot of acoustic guitar. So that's the first song. And the second song kind of improves on that. And it has kind of Herman did mention that he does like Alice in Chains. So I could kind of hear some of the the vocal harmonies definitely had some of that kind of angular influence on the vocal harmonies. And more on that later. I'm going to get to some more information about that, what I think about the album overall with that. So the second song's cool. And then the third song is more on the light side, a little bit more. Paracosm has a lot of drifting acoustic guitars, and the melodies are a little less obtuse than the first two. The fourth song, Paridiola, Paritolia, sorry, is an instrumental, and that's pretty cool, and it has a lot of acoustic in it too. And Magic Squares is the next song, and that has some really cool like interval changes. Interval changes are like going to different melodies and different keys and stuff. So, and the next few songs kind of continue in much the same manner, with a lot of multi-layered guitar melodies, occasional piano, affected guitars. There's some effects on there, and a lot of atmosphere again. So, that's one of the things about this album that I enjoyed. And then there's a lot of also there's a lot of like 7/8 rhythms and stuff. There's definitely a progressive element to it. And the next song after a few more songs after that, The Gardener, definitely gets heavy. It's not a metal album, but it definitely gets heavy. The bass is really a little bit more prominent, and there's actually some heavy guitars. And that's probably my favorite song is The Gardener, because it has a really wide range of emotions, and the vocal harmonies really clicked on that one. So the last quarter of the album definitely is more along the heavy rock side. It has more fuzz guitar, like John Travolta has. That's another song that's has a lot of fuzzed out, mad psychedelic guitars, and I really liked that too. That's another instrumental as well. And Season Finale is the last song. I liked that quite a bit too. I liked the last quarter of the album better than the middle the middle. I like the beginning, like the first three songs, and then the last like three or four songs. The middle is good. It just could it I guess it gets it's like you get sucked into it, and then you're kind of like you kind of want to get out a little bit, and then you do get out with the last couple songs, and it's kind of like this this not netherworld, but like this otherworldly kind of thing to it, which I do like. So overall, what do I think? So the production is excellent, and I don't know much of the background of Herman, but he definitely did a good job in the production. You can hear all the instruments, you can hear everything that he's trying to do there is really good. I mean, especially like the mix is really clear. The mastering is not one of those masterings that even I've been not accused of, but I've actually, unfortunately, have done the same thing as a lot of other aspiring musicians have done. That's not done on this release, by the way. Is like, oh well, I'm gonna put compression on everything and just over compress everything. It's really good, well done. Really, the loudness war does not apply to this album. In other words, so there's actually a lot of cool parts that almost drift towards dissonance, and that's so. Well, this is probably where the critical side comes in. So I would say that some of the vocals, and I should not talk because I've tried, my own handed vocals and got, in my own projects, I get defensive about how people think about my vocals. So I started hiring session vocalists, and not because I'm insecure about my vocals, but just because I wanted to get them to another level. And I'm not saying at all that Herman should do this, because his vocals are great. However, as far as a criticism, I would say there are some vocal parts, like some harmonies especially, that are a little off kilter, or they could have been better done. That's the irony about the album. I think the best vocals, like with the best songs, are at the beginning and the end. So I think some of the harmonies, I know he's going for like a more dissonant kind of angular approach with a lot of the harmonies. Some of them could have had more time spent on it a little bit, and it would have improved it. And that's the only criticism I really have, and it's just a very small criticism, because it seems like at the end of the album, a lot of it seems like even when there are parts like that, it's not really as it doesn't really have such an effect. I don't know if that's hard to explain how what I mean by that, but it's like I mean, I'm talking about the vocals that get more dissonant or have some of the more progressive kind of harmonizations. So that'd be my only criticism, and maybe the middle part. And this is mainly applying to like a few songs in when uh, the atmosphere can get a little bit overbearing, but not really. As there's enough variety by the next song to get into it more. But some of those songs could use a little bit of a better approach to making it a little bit more refined as far as the vocal harmonies go. The vocals are good, and especially good at the end of the album. For some reason, I think it feels like there's more of a natural sense of like more confidence by the end of the album. By the last 3 or 4 songs, it seems more confident. The vocals on the first few songs are confident, but like towards the end of the album, I think that's when the confidence really kicks in. Not just because it's heavier, just because I don't know, how exactly it was recorded like that. So, and that my second favorite song is Season Finale, which is the last song. And that is kind of a King Crimson-ish a little bit. That's what I thought was really cool. And the vocals are really good on that one. Like I said, they sound natural. They sound confident and natural. That's what I liked about it. Overall, I'd say it's an excellent date. This is not a debut, obviously, but this is an excellent introduction to what Herman Martinez is doing. I would say that this is definitely an up and coming musician. I know he's been he's kind of a veteran. I'm kind of relate to that because I'm a veteran as well as far as being in the music scene, but I'm trying to get my own projects off the ground and out there. So I think this is recommended from me, honestly. I have a few minor criticisms about some of the vocal harmonies. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's a very in-depth album that you can lose yourself in, and that's what I like about it. So overall, I recommend it. That's why I'm putting it on this, Mad Warriors Mental Madness site and my vlog and blog. And you should check it out. And I'll probably check out some of his other stuff. I think this is the style of music I like to see. People, when I do a review, I like to see something a little more original. Sometimes I get something that's kind of, more stock or whatever, and I try to do the best I can to listen to it. But this is not one of those things. So that's why I recommend it. If I had to give it a rating, so let's use the old school Rolling Stone review meter. So they had 5 stars, right? I would give it probably 3.5 or 4 stars. I'd say there's some minor criticisms. There's some parts that could be streamlined, especially in the middle. I don't know what it was. Maybe I'm going to give it another listen, but it's just a few little parts that could be, streamlined, and that's really a minor quibble. So I would say 3.5 or 4 stars, maybe 3 3/4. I don't think Rolling Stone ever did that, but that would be what I gave it. And it's a good, primer on this man's music. I think this is some interesting music that I've heard. So, and I hope that more people listen to this type of thing. I think this is there's a lot of just like bands out there just bludgeoning you with crap. It's just like, or they're playing. If they play a mellow style of music, it's some kind of really cliched thing. But this is definitely progressive, and it's definitely something that atmosphere, it takes you away, and that's what I like. So like I said, I listen to Devin Townsend or something like that. I'm not saying this sounds like Devin Townsend. I'm just saying that it's definitely has atmosphere, and that's a plus in my book. And that's all.